We're going to lead off our show with the one and only Phil Simms, who joins us in the Simms Spotlight, presented by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. Phil, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that we have Feagles with us once again today, so you're Paul-free. The bad news is that Paul will probably be with us on Thursdays the rest of the year moving forward.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Phil. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, I'll try. You know, I hear it, the one and only. I'm joining you. Thank God there's only one. That's what people think, so that's good.
Absolutely. Okay, so Phil, let's start here. When you have a team like the Bucs coming off 2 straight losses, you're taking on a team like the Giants coming off of a bye. I looked it up. Tom Brady has not lost 3 straight games as a starting quarterback since 2002. That's a long time ago. How do you kind of put all those things together to try to figure out what the nature of this game is going to be like on Monday night?
Well, I think if you're the New York Giants, there's only one way to look at it, that they're going to come out and it's going to be everything they got, emotionally, physically, try to get back on track, all those words and sayings that we put out there. I think it's real. You know, just following the Bucs this week, reading their comments, you know, all that. And I think, too, coming off buys, I don't know what it is. I don't know the numbers, and it doesn't matter. Just my thought is that, you know, teams don't – we always say, oh, they had to buy, they straighten things out. The sense – you know, I don't – when I watch teams off buys this year, I don't see the sense of urgency.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so that'll be for the Giants to bring that up, to have it this week, because I think it's going to be a very physical game, of course, and they'll have to play their best and do a lot of nice things on both sides of the ball just to hang in there. That's the way I look at it. Because this Bucs team, they're not playing great, but they have a lot of difference makers on both sides of the football, and that's tough to deal with, especially after 2 losses in a row.
Well, I think if you're Tom Brady, you got – listen, the Giants have had their share of injuries, as we all know, Phil, but so has the Buccaneers and that passing attack that they bring to the table. And if you're Tom Brady, you're probably getting a little excited that maybe Antonio Brown might be back for this game, Rob Gronkowski. You can see how this offense has not operated the way it wants to without those guys in the lineup. And I think that now Tom Brady's getting a little anxious to have some of these guys back.
Well, I'm sure he is, but you know, every team, Jeff, everybody has injuries, and I look at the Bucs offense and I just go, come on. Do we need everybody, the best in every position on the offense for this?
Well, evidently they do. They think that way.
Well,
yeah.
It's unbelievable when I just, he doesn't have Gronk. You know, Cameron Brate is really good. And I don't know if the talent difference between the two is what everybody makes it out to be. But, yes, I know Brady does love throwing to Gronkowski near the goal line and all that. Cameron Brate caught a short touchdown last week. But I know what you're saying. They'd love that. But I have the feeling, just heard on TV this morning, that it's pretty iffy if Gronk or Antonio Brown will be back for this game. So if they're not, that'll be good for the Giants. And like I said before, Jeff, you know it. You sat in that locker room and felt what was going on with the other team. You know what's going to happen with the Buccaneers down there, the crowd, and everything else that's going on.
You know, Phil, I want to talk to you about the defensive approach against Brady here, because I think what the Giants have kind of fallen back on here is, you know, colloquially what's called kind of a bend but don't break defense. The other team gets down the field. They just can't get the ball in the end zone. You know, last 2 weeks against Kansas City and Las Vegas, they have been 3 of 12 in terms of scoring touchdowns in the red zone. I don't necessarily think that is sustainable over a long period of time. But when you're facing a team like Tampa, and when you cover the AFC more than the NFC for CBS, you saw Brady so long with New England. He's so willing to just throw, all right, 6-yard pass, 7-yard pass, 6-yard pass, and just march slowly down the field. And, you know, we frankly saw the Raiders do that. They had 400 yards of offense against the Giants 2 weeks ago. They just couldn't score touchdowns. So how do you think the Giants will approach this against Brady? Are they going to just live with those short passes and let him methodically dump it off to Fournette, dump it off to Brate, and to kind of just move up and down the field and then try to stiffen in the red zone? Can you do that against Brady? Is it too hard once you get there to stop him? Just what do you think of that general approach that the Giants have adopted recently and trying to utilize that against a guy like Brady?
Well, to answer your question very quickly, yes. I do believe they'll play the same style. I think that's the way to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Will Tom Brady, is he patient and throw it underneath? Absolutely. He loves it. Let me get it out of my hands as fast as possible. But the thing about the Buccaneers that's different from most teams, they do have an offense where there are tons of opportunities, or they try to get the football down the field. He is still one of the best power throwers in the league, and he can throw the football into very tight spots. And, oh, my gosh, I laugh at TV. Are we concerned about Tom Brady? Oh, my God, he threw 2 interceptions. Well, one of them he double-clutched on, overthrew a receiver coming across. It was his third read. And the other one, of course, come on. There's nothing you can do as a quarterback. But he's throwing the ball really well. And it comes down to this. I even wrote this down. I watched the Giant tape real quick this morning. And we've talked about this before, John and Jeff. You need, and I hate this saying, you need somebody to make a play. But the Giants, we have guys that are making plays. Mm-hmm. Roche makes the big play.
Yep.
Yes, McKinney makes the interceptions. It's just those type of things are just pressuring the quarterback at the right time. That's what you need to win football games. It hasn't shown as much as we'd hope for the Giants. But on the offensive side, just real quick, you got to be happy with the fact that they ran the football inside with power against the Las Vegas Raiders. And can they do it this week? Vita Vea is out. That's a big deal for the Buccaneers, so maybe they have an opportunity to control the ball a little bit. And I'll say this, too. I'm sorry to keep going. But Daniel Jones, read it, throw it. Don't double clutch. Don't hold it too long because it's going to result in trouble like it did against the Raiders. And you got to feel it. Look at it and move right away. Don't wait for somebody to come open. That doesn't work anymore for the New York Giants or most football teams, especially when you play a team like the Buccaneers.
Well, I know that we're going to transition into the Bucs defense when we're talking about Daniel Jones going up against that Todd Bowles defense, who, by the way, likes to blitz. About 40% of the time they bring pressure on passing downs. They run that 2-4-5 nickel defense, Phil, and it creates a lot of opportunity for them, a lot of linebackers on the field. What do you think about that matchup with those linebackers? They're not great. Jamal Dean and Carlton Davis in the back, those guys are a good duo, but I think that if there's a weakness, it's at the coverage of those linebackers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you could. I agree. I'm not going to listen. I just say this about Todd Bowles: he's an impatient man. And, he is. You hit a couple plays, just buckle up. There's some type of coming. And they did a lot of. I thought they tried everything against the Washington football team. Taylor Heineke, listen, there's no other way to say it. He was terrific. He was magnificent. His moving in the pocket. Their O-line gave him space, so when there was nobody open, which was quite a bit. He moved around and made things happen, and you would hope the Giants might have that same opportunity. But but Todd Bowles, that's what I just go. You almost can feel it like, oh, they hit 2 plays, I'll show them, and they do have a lot of different things. Hey, sometimes it's I call it a 4-man blitz because they're up there, they got a lot of people at the line of scrimmage, and then the ball is snapped. There's only 4 rushers, but the problem is which 4, and can you make the adjustments quick enough? But always be on the alert that he is going to do that, be impatient, and sooner or later he can't help it. He's going to bring pressure and try to make plays for his defense.
Phil, and I think that's a great segue to one of our fan questions here, this one at Find My Shadows. How can Daniel Jones's leadership, and I'll add a little couple words here, pre-snap work, help make the offensive line better during a game? And we can specifically focus on this Bucs defense because, to your point, they bring so many different types of blitzes, too, from different areas. How can Daniel help that offensive line along to help this offense be effective despite the fact that they're bringing all that pressure?
Well, great communication is always the start. And, I know Daniel Jones, every quarterback is different, and I never judge them the same, that's for sure. But, I had a great, you'd like to think and hope, and Jeff, you know this too, being in the locker room and being around quarterbacks for so many years, that there's a connection between the quarterback and the O-line. And my connection was always, yes, I had a good connection with them, but I really had one with Bart Oates. And if anything was going on that I didn't like, I would yell at Bart sitting on the bench, Bart, and I just would kill him. And it was incredible what I would say. I don't know why he didn't punch me. But he'd go, well, Phil, it's not my fault. I said, Bart, I don't care whose fault it is, fix it. And he'd go, I just can see it like it's yesterday. He'd go, okay. And he'd get up but that's really, I think that's part of it. As a quarterback, you do have to have the ability to talk to guys in a certain way, to try to raise their sense of urgency, whatever it is, just emotion, whatever it is, to do that. And I don't know if he does that or not, but I always think that's a great tool for the quarterback to have.
So, Phil, it's funny. So I get it now. So Parcells would yell at you, you'd get mad, and you'd take it out on poor Bart Oates. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
The ultimate trickle-down effect. Yeah.
Oh, it really is, and I think about it all the time. I just go, God, why do the linemen take it? Well, because that's who they are.
Sure.
They want to serve, the running back, the quarterback, and be physical and all those things. And, I saw a lot of good traits with the Giants' offensive line this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a little trouble a couple times on the edge, but inside, just running the football was what really caught my attention. And when you run the ball well, that just does something. It makes your team tough. It makes of course, your offense, but also it's protecting your defense, and that'll be interesting to see. Look, everybody plays Tampa. We saw it with the first game of the year with the Dallas Cowboys. They're very good rush, all these other things. Just spread them out and throw the football quick. But, they've kind of seen that so much. They're getting good at trying to defend that. So I'm interested to see what the Giants do on the offensive side. And play a team like that down there. Do not be afraid, that's for sure. Take your chances and, play against this team, and don't sit back and try to react to what they're doing. Be their aggressor every once in a while and see how they handle it.
I'm a big believer in the offensive line being able to dominate a game in the run game, because I feel like it just sets you up for so much more success through the whole football game, Phil, especially down in the red zone. What exactly in your mind does this offensive line need to? How do they become those road graders that everybody wants them to be? You said that you noticed a little bit of improvement out of them right before the bye against the Vegas team. What is it that we can kind of look for this group going forward in the second half of the season to get better in the run game down there in the short red zone?
Well, that's a good question, Jeff. Really just being physical. What I mean, and when I say being physical, it's really about the double teams for offensive linemen.
Okay.
And early in the game against the Raiders, they were, moving them out, and that was great to see. Devontae Booker, I thought, had a really good game. Yeah, we know the stats and all that, but I thought he made the right decisions, which is really important. We never look at the running back and go, he's the decision maker too, just like the quarterback. And I thought he really did a tremendous job of having patience, running to the right spot, and taking advantage of everything the offensive line did. But it did look more aggressive to me against the Raiders. And, I've watched every game, and I just thought inside, I thought Will Hernandez, did a good job on it, being physical in the run game, especially on the double teams. And it's something I think they can do now against this Tampa Bay defense, especially without Vita Vea in there. So I don't know if I answered your question or not. I tried.
No, absolutely. And just, a quick follow-up to that is that, when you look at this offensive line, a guy like Nate Solder, I thought he had a great game against the Vegas team. He really did well, and I think they can build on that going forward, because it's got to be important to those guys to win at that line of scrimmage, like you said, especially their double teams, because as a quarterback, I would imagine that if I got my running game going, then that's going to open up for a little bit more of a play action, and then being able to get the football out of my hands quickly on some good passes and make some plays. But I see improvement there, and I think that now that you're talking about consistency in the lineup, the guys are starting to play next to each other for an extended period of time. That makes a difference.
Andrew Thomas coming back too, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing is I watch the league, and I see this every year, and it really never changes. No team hardly gets to the playoffs, or of course has no success in the playoffs, without a good offensive line. And I always look at it every year and see the teams that get in the playoffs, and go, and you start looking at the stats or whatever, and you just go, wow, the numbers tell you the offensive line you cannot overcome it. If they struggle, the football team is going to struggle.
Yep.
So that's why we hear it so much from Dave Gettleman, really everybody. The offensive line, when's it going to happen? When's it going to come together and be a force to let all the skill guys, and not only that, but how to manage the game differently, because you can trust the offensive line even more.
All right, Phil, I got a couple fan questions, and I have and then I have one wrap up here. This one from Tim. Who are a couple guys on offense that you feel need to step up in order for the Giants, and I'm going to edit the last part of this because I have banned the P word from the show until the record gets better, in order for the team to play a better brand of football offensively for the rest of the year?
The tackles. Bingo. That's it. If the tackles play well, I think that'll change the offense and change the what's going on for the Giants as they finish this season out. I think they've really done well. I like the secondary, of course, a lot, and they all have the ability to make plays. We've seen it with Bradbury. Logan Ryan is just a tremendous veteran safety. So give the defensive backs a chance. They're holding their end of it up. But really, when I look at the team, I just keep looking at the tackles. If they start playing up to a certain level, then I just think the Giants are going to move forward and have success.
All right, second question. This one from our boy Charlie. Who is the best wide receiver you played with, and who is the best backup quarterback you played with, Phil? Those are the two questions.
Well, that's easy. I mean, Jeff Hostetler would be the best backup for sure. I mean, he helped us get to the Super Bowl the year I got hurt, and he did a really good job. There's no doubt. So that's an easy question. Wide receivers, man, we were such a tight end dominant football team with Zeke Mowat and Mark Bavaro. As I've always told you, Parcells says, hey, when Bavaro's covered, he's open. And, okay, Bill, great advice. I got it. But it was true. And the same with Zeke Mowat. Just throw them open. Throw it. They'll adjust and make the catches. But wide receivers, we just had a big group of them. I think Lionel Manuel is a guy that always kind of sticks out in my mind. And his biggest problem, he was nicked a lot, so we never really got those connections going. And we weren't the kind of team that was going to feature a wide receiver either. But, man, could he run routes, John and Jeff. He could come out of a break literally and never slow down. Mm-hmm. And we used to look at him, and Parcells would go, what are those ankles made of? And because that's how good he was. And everybody had trouble covering him. Once he got away from the release, whatever it was, they had trouble covering him on all crossing in routes or out routes because he could make the cut so quick.
All right, final question, Phil. What do you think the game flow is going to be like for this game on Monday? Like, the way I'm looking at it, I think the Giants will probably have to get to, the bare minimum will be 24. I think 27 is preferable if you want a chance to win. Do you think it's going to be a high-scoring game like that? Or do you think the Giants will be able to play the Bucs like they did Kansas City and Las Vegas and kind of keep it in that high teens, low 20s area?
Well, I think they'll try. I think this will be different. I think you're right, John, saying 27 seems like the magic number. The Buccaneers, unless you can do what the Washington football team did and just go out there and hold the ball forever and shorten the game, it was kind of fun to watch. I go, the end of the first quarter, and the next thing you know, it's the last drive of the game. And it was amazing what the Washington football team did. But, my question is, they had the 27 points, and I think the Buccaneers, the point is, even when you're doing a good job against them, they have so many playmakers that they're always, like I said, trying to throw it down the field, and they're not real patient with it. They're going to try. And like I said, Brady's throwing the ball physically about as well as he ever has, and they like to throw in. They take a book out of the old New England Patriots when Brady was up there. They put some of these plays in and do them a lot more because of him, and that's the seam routes up the inside seams. They do it with their wide receivers, their tight ends, and they do it a lot. And Tom Brady is great at it, looks it off and then turns and throws it. He predetermines, which I would tell Daniel Jones too. When you're throwing seams, I don't think I ever threw one in a game where I didn't know where I was going to throw it before the ball was snapped. Mm-hmm. You see how they line up, and I would drop back and look to the other guy, and of course the defense, they're going to run with your eyes, and then you turn and you throw it to the other guy. You don't drop back and read the coverage and determine which one you're going to go to. You're not going to have that kind of time anymore in the league. And Brady, as I've watched him, I watched 3 of their games this week. He does it every time. When he throws a seam pass, it's predetermined. He looks it off, turns, and fires it. And that's my advice to Daniel Jones. He looked at the Raiders. He went back and tried to read it. There's not that kind of time, and I think that's where he had the fumble, too, in the game, where the ball was knocked out of his hands. So something to look out for, something to learn, and try to do that in the games.
Phil, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Phil.
All right, John, Jeff, good talking to you. And did I hear that Paul's going to be back for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, sadly.
Okay. Well, we all have across the bear, so that'll be it. We'll do our best, John.
Thank you, Phil.
Good luck.
All right, guys. See you, Jeff.
Goodbye.
Okay. All right.
Enjoy your next 2 weeks preparing for Polly Dots. That's Phil Simms in the Simms Spotlight presented by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.